Hello friends, I am back with another video, and today we will be going over extraordinary power of the sexual elixir. So without further ado, let us begin. Wise men of the Orient have from time immemorial sought means of preventing discharge of the seminal fluid. Without exception, they have realized the tremendous implications of the sexual act when performed with love and discipline. It may awaken dormant powers in the mind and body. So, like we mentioned in our previous video of the Taoist sexual kung fu process, the absorption of the seminal value can awaken dormant powers. The release of this seminal value would lead to a little death or death in general, the death of the extremities, the internal organs, death of many facets of life, because in loss it is a projection of a creation of a creation. So that is where loss comes from. So it's essential that we understand how the wise men of the Orient understood that they need to prevent losing this vital life force. It is such a vital force. The nervous and endocrine systems, and particularly open to improvement. The act of love has been long recognized as healing, but the Taoist masters sought to go beyond this and find the principles of physical immortality within it. Many schools arose proposing various ways of tapping the sexual elixir of sexuality. So like we mentioned in our previous video, guys, you could have sex and you could be part of the sexual process, but it's essential during this process is to connect with your partner and absorb both the masculine yang and the feminine yin and allow this duality to become a singularity. But the most important part is to not lose your semen. It's to not lose your precious virya. This is the most important part in terms of tapping into the secret elixir of life. And we see that many of the Taoists, they understood that sex is considered a healing process when both energies are cleansed and both energies are connected with each other, right? They understood that if they withheld their seed, how much energy of a boost it is, because they are recognizing every time they lose energy, this is a massive energy drainer. But when they had sexual interrelations and they maintained their seed, they maintained their virya, they recognized a boost in energy and a boost in health. Hence why they call it the secret elixir of sexuality. Those who fully understand conventional ejaculatory sex know it grossly exploits every gland and organ, essentially squeezing some of the most important life force out of these glands and organs. With ejaculation, the eternal pressure of life is expelled from the body, leaving behind in some sex-obsessed men only enough life force to fold a newspaper, squeeze food through the bowels, and make for the psychiatrist's couch. So we see that this is an occurrence in many lifestyles, or many people who are addicted to the release because they don't know a better way. If they understood that there was a better way of maintaining this life force and having an orgasm that is deeper, a brain orgasm, then they would understand the true power of the seminal value. This vital life force cannot be wasted at all. The sages considered one drop of semen equal in vital power to 100 drops of blood. So when we did brahmacharya videos earlier, we understood that the Ayurvedic doctor said it was about 40 to 80 drops of blood. The Western doctor will probably say something less. But the sages themselves consider this to be about 100 drops of blood, which it truly is, because it has to come from the blood, the tissues, the chyle, the fats, and the bone marrow. So it essentially is taking the best parts of the blood. So it's not just any type of blood that's moving oxygen, etc. It's the best drops of blood. The Hindu holy men refer repeatedly to Amrita, the elixir of life, a rejuvenation substance that may be produced during prolonged sexual activity without ejaculation. So this is the elixir that comes about when you are able to withhold losing your seminal value. You can awaken dormant powers, dormant chakras from within, and be able to see through the third eye. That's essentially what you want to become intertwined with. Instead of releasing and then becoming duality again, it's about remaining in singularity. Once you are in that method, in that mode, you are about to see singularity. Kether at the top. The production of this elixir, which Westerners might call a higher hormonal secretion, requires a sexual technique that prevents ejaculation and thereby allows the body to enter higher and higher states of energy or consciousness. So this hormonal secretion, or the seminal value, when it climbs up the spinal canal from the coccygeal all the way to the pineal, this is known as the Kundalini serpent. This is the Kundalini serpent climbing upwards. Instead of it going outwards, right? This is why when we see the Ouroboros, this is the snake that gives life, but also it's biting its tail because it can take its own life. This is the process. Extraordinary powers, including healing and clairvoyant perception, may evolve when one retains the semen, and it drives its power back up into the body. Many gifted minds have held that if one could retain these fluids for one's entire life, the body would not decay after death. The saints, the Christians, the Buddhists, the Muslims, or Taoists all used the power dwelling within the vital seed to perform miracles. So we see, guys, that many of the amazing things, think about all the amazing things that have been created in life. The iPhone, for instance. Steve Jobs was very big on semen retention. We know he was so big on it, and that's why he was such a great creator. Sexual energy is creative energy. That's exactly what it is, because it is the creation of another life force. So essentially, maintaining this energy will allow you to become way more creative. Many esoteric sects have urged the eating of the seminal fluid to increase sexual ability and bodily fitness. This practice is at least as rational as buying vitamins. Scientific analysis has found it to contain a treasure house of vitamins, minerals, trace elements, hormones, proteins, ions, enzymes, and other vital nutritional substances. So there is many aspects to the seminal energy. Besides it having hormones, minerals, proteins, enzymes, there is something science can describe and science can analyze, and that is the force that it holds, the magnetic pull that it holds, and how much of a true instigator of life it is. It's a instigator, it's a propagator, it's the grandmaster. It's almost like a trump card. That's how much force it holds. But there is an additional property in the sperm seed which present-day science cannot analyze and is far more important than any vitamin. This may be called the life force. Though it registers as no scientific instruments, it is far from imaginary, since it separates the living from the dead. So this is life force. This is something that can't be measured on any scientific scale. It's the reason you are who you are. It's a thought process. It's moving with flagella, but it is a thought process. It's thoughts amalgamating from thoughts to create more thoughts that have thoughts. Ginseng root is an example of another natural substance which shows no special properties under chemical analysis. Yet, its life restoring powers are now widely acknowledged. Lovemaking is a powerful healing tonic because it involves sharing of the human life force, which is far more potent than any herb or medicine. So, in the lovemaking process, if you as a man are able to withhold your seed, it will be a energy cycle and an energy gain. If you have an energy cycle and then you have an energy loss, it will be a energy loss. Okay? Chinese aristocrats and adepts seeking the deepest level of fulfillment have long had the capacity to return the energy of the seminal fluid to the brain and vital bodily centers. So when you allow this semen or the virya to climb back up the spine, go to your heart centers, go to fill your lungs, your throat, your brain. These are all the other chakra centers that have to fill. And when it could fill these chakra centers, you're more in touch with the world. You become and see what God intends for you to see. Okay? This is what we entail in brahmacharya. It's how God would act. That's what brahmacharya means. And when you're maintaining this much semen, you see through a very singularity lens. You no longer see in the world for the restrictions, for the shackles, for the forced duality. You see everything for what it is. And it's all of the same fragment, of the same P splitting from P to P to P and recreating itself over and over. You see life for what it truly becomes. Now, this is what we know as singularity, returning to the source, becoming one with the self, or the one with the universe, the creator of the universe. But ordinary people in our society have until now had no technique for recycling this great life power to the body. Most men have found the sexual lure irresistibly attractive and happily lost their seed when succumbing to it, unaware of the consequences to their health or that there was even an alternative available to them. So most people that, have difficulties retaining the seed, their main issue is that they are addicted to the feeling of losing the seed. They are very, very addicted to the feeling of, this ejaculatory process, which is slowly killing them in the grand scheme of things. But when they finally learn or they finally understand that maintaining this seed, even during the sexual act, will allow for higher levels of consciousness, which feel much greater than any form of bodily secretion in the physical plane. Once they're able to see much, much in depth into the astral, there is no going back. But that's why lust is so heavily thrown in the Western society. It's to keep people away from their highest nature or keep them away from seeing states of consciousness beyond. They want to keep most people in the lowest states of consciousness. That's safe to say, to keep them in fear, keep them in possessive mindsets, and that's kind of the process that's going on. With frequent ejaculation of sperm, vitality ultimately plummets. The big spender loses stamina. His vision begins to weaken. Hair trembles from his skull. He grows old before his time. At first, he will not feel drained. But after years of abuse, his capacities will begin to drop alarmingly. Any men who know, they know exactly this is the truth as the aging process goes. And the more life force you expel, you succumb to more disease, you succumb to aging earlier, you lose your youthful energy. In the acts of having a child, and this is perfectly fine. If you want a child, this is perfectly fine. No one's judging you. This is just to know that That's how vital this life force is. It can bring up a child. It can create new life force. And it's not to just be dispelled unreasonably. We are here not to judge anyone. We are here to rather share a new method, or a method that has been known. As far as sexual kung fu goes, this is about, even if you are having sexual interrelations, it's to never dispel the semen, and to understand you can reach higher states of consciousness in doing so. When the hormonal secretions of the sexual glands are regularly leached out, the body is sapped at its root within a period of time that will range from the months to decades, depending on the endowment of the individual. Creative and sexual abilities are halved, and the ability to withstand disease and the frailties of old age is diminished. So there's some men who are going to be able to age youthfully, they age very slowly. And it's all dependent on how each man uses the Ouroboros he is gifted with. You are gifted with the power as a man, and it is now your duty and your diligence to use that power up to your accordance, up to your will. It's your will to do what you want, right? It is also your will to understand the power that you hold, and that if you are in a position you're in, it is ultimately your creation. All right, everything you've been in is a product of your own creation. There is probably no one else to blame except yourself, because this all comes from a product of your own creation. So understand the power that you do hold, and the power of thought is truly powerful. The most powerful thing is a thought, because we all stem from the same thought. To regain falling powers, the desperate big spender of vital seed sometimes tries to borrow well-being from hormone injections, uppers, downers, intoxicants, megavitamins, hallucinogens, and aphrodisiacs. These substances, frantically stuffed into the body, may appear to help temporarily. So, no matter what, guys, no matter what you try to take, replacement therapy, any sorts of these things, are only a fractal of recovery when 75% of your most vital fluid is drained, and it's draining out of a very, like a sap on a tree. It's draining very vigorously. It's not just losing blood. It's, if it was just as simple as losing a few drops of blood, it'd be practically nothing. But it's not just losing blood. It's losing your most vital life force. It's losing your most vital you. It's a fragment of you that your body is constantly working its hardest to create. Your body works very diligently to create the best version of you. So it's essential to understand that once lost and continuous loss, there's nothing that can help to repair this constant loss, because the body itself has to repair itself and repair that loss. It has to constantly be in this cycle of trying to repair and recycle. He may seek to regain his dwindling sexual powers with personal power purchased with money or political influence. If he is on a spiritual path, or is surrounded by a loving community of family and friends, this feeling of a failing life power will be slowed. So, yes, I mean, as people age, they have children, etc. So, they understand that obviously that life is not permanent. As your heart's beating, time is moving, and etc. Everything is going to come to an end. Everything has a end date. As we already mentioned, that everything is predestined, everything is also predetermined in that way as well. But so long as the prodigious energy waste continues, decline is inevitable. The organs of digestion will be unable to assimilate sufficient nutritional energies to replace those irrecoverable life energies lost by ejaculation. So there's nothing in the digestive, there's no foods. You can have the most potent fruits, the most potent vegetables. Yes, these are very good, and these will definitely help heal your body. They're high in alkaline, that's great for you. But those are not going to be enough. They will not suffice in replacing irrecoverable life energies, because you're also building up a force. You cannot recover force through foods. Force is built up strictly by the virya and in the concentration of the mind. You cannot re-eat force. Force is built over time by the self. Each of us hold this power, so it's essential to understand how vital force is. That's why every time you lose this force, you lose attractiveness. You will succumb to infection. You will succumb to degradation. In many facets. We'll get into that in a different video, though. The Taoist method of cultivating sexual energy recirculates to the body the hormones, proteins, vitamins, enzymes, minerals, and electrical energies of the semen. When they are conserved and transformed, one enjoys a marvelous sexual life, improved health, and deep inner balance and rising spiritual consciousness. So, when you understand how potent this life force is, not only will your life feel amazing, you will feel so great holding on to your video, your precious video. You will start to see things in a much higher lens. You start to raise consciousness to a very high state. You see things like a brahmacharian would. How God walks, you start to walk how God walks. And it's a deep inner balance, correct? And the rising spiritual consciousness. Yes, so this is when you truly see from both hemispheres of the brain. You're not trapped on one side, only seeing things in a logical state, which no one should be seeing things in only one state. You should always see things off both hemispheres. But this really allows for the corpus callosum to do its job, and you could see through both hemispheres, the creative and logical side. The Taoist method of love actually stimulates the production of hormonal substances of unusually high quality. One can learn to focus the energy on the endocrine glands during the act of love. When the glands are bathed in energy, the quantity of their secretions increases. More importantly, their quality improves. At higher stages in the practice, the hormone develops extraordinary properties. So during the lovemaking process, you can re-heal your vital organs, such as the endocrine system, such as the most systems can be healed when you're withholding the seminal value. You can heal glands because you're bathing in energy now. Like I said before, you can't necessarily lose force and then try to re-eat force back. But when force and force is connecting like this, and you're recycling energy together, this becomes an energy boost, especially if you can withhold the seminal value. The sexual kung fu method allows one to generate and conserve more nervous and hormonal energy than are necessary for ordinary functioning. This excess vitality may be channeled to strengthen the body and to raise mental and spiritual abilities. When lovers are in close embrace, subtle yin and yang energies are concentrated into vortexes from the sexual region to the head and eventually remain in the head at all times. So this is the vortex that starts creating. It's the duality that becomes singularity. So it starts off at the sexual act, and then if you can raise it high enough, it will remain at the head at all times, creating this bond, this link, and this creation back to the singularity that everyone wants to reach back to. So guys, this has been the extraordinary power of the sexual elixir. Thank you for joining me. Thank you guys for all the likes, comments, etc. I'm glad I got to make another video for you guys today, and I will continue on this playlist of the Taoist secrets as we go on further. So thank you for joining me, friends, and I will be back.